Welcome, everyone. We have just seen Talk to Me. It's a horror film picked up by A24, and it's a little known Australian film that has 97% on Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah, we just saw it. It was a lot better than what I thought. James, what are your thoughts on this one?
I mean, I hadn't heard of this until recently. It's just been making a bit of buzz as of late. And yeah, as you said, with a 97% Rotten Tomato score, it's a bit hard to miss that. So we got to catch an early screening. The studios here in New Zealand, they decided to have the the screening for press and media such as ourselves on the same day as Barbie. And we have priorities. We got to go to Barbie. So they had an advanced screening even before that screening. So we took the chance to go today. I would never go to a public screening for a horror movie ever again after this because the people next to us and in front of us were annoying, to say the least.
And idiots.
Just idiots jumping around, talking constantly, as you do. But as for the movie itself, I did really enjoy it. I think there were times when I questioned the logic of this movie, and there were times where I feel like there could have been a little bit more depth in the writing. So I found that to be a somewhat underwhelming element. But as far as horror movies go, I think it's really good, and it's better than what you're going to get today on, film to film basis for horror movies. They are pretty weak these days, so stuff like this comes in and they're really great. But I guess in terms of the context of the film, it's basically just this teenagers and this hand that allows them to. How would you describe it?
So it's pretty much like this spiritual hand that's like covered in cast, and these group of teenagers have it and use it as like a party trick. So what you do is you hold the hand and you say some words, and then apparently you see a spirit in front of you, like a dead spirit, and then you say, "I'll let you in," and then the spirit takes
hold of your body for a bit.
Takes hold of your body and starts talking about, I don't know if it's their feelings or the person's the actual teenager's feelings, but
I'm pretty sure the spirit comes through your body and then something like that. Yeah. So that's pretty much the basic premise of it. And then, teenagers being teenagers, they get a little bit silly with it. And basically it really turns into a supernatural fest. I've often cited my main reasons for not liking horror movies is that I usually don't find them scary I don't find them scary usually because most horror movies go into that supernatural element of, getting possessed and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's to the point where it's like, I wouldn't be scared. I'm not scared because either it's using bad filmmaking techniques like random jump scares and stuff like that, or it's stuff where, I don't buy it because it's not believable. But when it comes to something like, Barbarian, for example, or The Strangers is a guilty favorite of mine when it comes to horror movies, those are real events, or like not real events, but like they could happen. Like people like murdering and kidnapping, all that kind of stuff. So those are the ones I find scary. This one, it does lean more into the supernatural element of it, but I found that the filmmaking to be super genuine and dedicated to like trying to actually scare you through a variety of techniques, not just this noise that just goes, like out of the blue, or it's where it's a black screen and just someone like was standing there and it's like really dark music. There's a bit more to that, and it's how it builds up to the scene as well. I just found them, these directors, I think they have there's some real potential here for future horror movies. So, I really do hope they get more opportunities in the future. But yeah, there is a lack of thematic threads to this movie, and I feel like it could have done something with it. So yeah, that part I did find a little bit disappointing. Otherwise, stuff like pacing I thought was great. It's the right length of time for something like this. I don't think it could have been any longer, and yeah, it didn't need to be any shorter. Also, it's cut quite well. Visually, I thought, especially when they allow the spirit to come into them, the way the camera will flip as the head goes back,
like tilts.
So there's some neat camera work in them. The camera work's like it moves quite often, which is good. You're not just getting static shots, which is something that, I've come to appreciate in filmmaking because I get really sick of movies when it's just really static shots and no movement in the camera at all. It's really boring and it's bland. So this one has some cool stuff in there. Otherwise, your generic Hollywood tropes or horror tropes where, the lighting the lighting is usually good in these kind of movies because they have to be. So I thought the lighting was used fantastically. Alongside that, there's a lack of practical effects in here, and they could have easily taken like heavy practical effect or visual effects route in this.
Yeah.
I'm assuming there was no budget for it, so they had to do practical effects. You're getting people with just heavy makeup and prosthetics applied to them, and it's really gruesome but realistic. And it's realistic because it's there. They're filming that right in front of it, so you get a real there's a heightened sense of realism attached to it, rather than standard stuff. Maybe not Conjuring's a bad example, but other movies where it's just this kind of little CGI thing in the background.
The Boogeyman.
Yeah, the Boogeyman. I can't even remember the Boogeyman now. But no, that's a different thread. So yeah, adding the heavy makeup and prosthetics, things like that. Yeah, heightened sense of realism, which is something you always got to appreciate. Another point that I liked as well was the sound editing and sound mixing.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the way it mixed different sounds was really effective at times. It almost created a good sense of confusion, and you kind of felt a little bit more alongside the characters, which is something that there's often a disconnect between the audience and characters in horror movies as well. So adding that kind of stuff, you're kind of going through what they're going through, and I think the sound mixing was a big part of that. The sound editing is good. And I mean good in the sense that it holds back when it needs to, and it goes all out when it needs to as well. It's not just some just some random big noise when it's not that scary, or when like things happen in horror movies and then they're like walking slowly and then and then it's just like the mother walks in and it's like boom and makes a big noise and it's like we got you. No, you didn't. You're just annoying. So stuff like that. It doesn't do that stuff, which is something you really like. And yeah, although when it comes to the sound side of it, I didn't like the songs in it. The sound mixing in those moments I think were bad. It often diluted the audio and the dialogue of the characters. I was like, what are you saying? The music's like too loud.
I can't even remember any songs in it.
Yeah, like there was the opening scene and then when they first arrive at the party kind of stuff. Yeah. So there's quite a few moments in it. And the songs really do establish the initial I guess tone and I guess culture of the characters and where it's located and stuff like that, because it is an Australian film at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And it's not like Hollywoodized, if you know what I mean, where it's all American. So it's kind of a unique place for this horror movie to take place.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's basically my thoughts on it. What do you think?
Yeah. I think the tone of the film was set from the very opening scene. Within like the last 2 minutes, you sort of saw how gruesome this movie was going to be, and I think there was there was definitely stages where we were just like wincing in our seats at during some scenes. It's fairly gruesome. It's like you can
gross.
And gross. Yeah, you can feel what's happening to those characters.
Yeah,
and like you want to look away, but you just can't because it's just riveting, engaging.
Riveting.
You're just in there as well. I like the way this film built up tension and stuff. Like you pretty much nailed it in terms of like the scare aspect of side. How it wasn't like your typical horror thing. It was just mainly built on suspense and stuff. You know, it wasn't the whole you look down and you look up and oh shit, there's something behind me. It's like you hear like whispers and then you just see like a shadow in the dark and it just slowly comes out. And like there's no loud noises or anything. It's just like whispering, and then the scary part is what that thing does, because it's just like ugh.
Yeah, and then what happens after that?
Yeah. So the directors Danny and Michael. I don't know how to pronounce this last name. I think it's Filippo.
Yeah, I
yeah,
think so.
it's their directorial debut, and I thought they did a pretty fantastic job. I mean, it's 97%. It went to Sundance, and that's where A24 picked it up as one of their own.
Yeah.
So you got a good film, and A24 does that.
Yeah.
I thought they did really well, especially with the actors. There was pretty much there was only one. I would barely even call her main sort of Hollywood star. She was Eowyn from Lord of the Rings. That's probably the only recognizable face. Otherwise, all the rest is quite unknown.
Newcomers.
And the newcomers are quite young as well. They're like, I don't know, they range from like 15 to early mid-20s as well.
Yeah.
And I thought they all did very well, especially the main chick, Mia. The one that's like, sees all these creatures and whatnot. I thought she was fantastic just in terms of like the way she showed her affair and then like the emotional side with her mother and stuff and her father. Her friends also did all right as well, but I think she was the key highlight throughout this film. For
Definitely.
sure. I agree with you with the sounds as well. It's just the main thing that you hear, or the main sort of sound you hear throughout this film, is like whooshing of water. It's just imagine like you're shaking a waterbed, and that's the sort of sound you hear. And like when you hear that, you're like, what, something's going to go down with the spirits. And I think the way they just used that as a tease was fantastic. And pretty much what you said with the makeup, it's easily one of the best parts of this film. I mean, modern Hollywood films should look into the more practical aspects, because it just not only looks more realistic and believable, but it's just it just elevates the product. Especially with the spirits and like the demented faces and stuff like that. It genuinely looked like a Hollywood film. In terms of like how detailed it was and whatnot.
It's good.
It's fantastic. Would you go see this again?
Yeah, I think I would. I do think horrors, they just lack rewatchability. More so than other genres. But yeah, if someone wanted to go see this again, I'll definitely go into it. Yeah.
Hopefully, you have a better cinema crowd.
Oh man, don't get me started. That might be one of the worst cinema crowds I've ever been to.
I think it was. There was literally times, I don't know if they were taking the piss or they were being genuine, but they literally ran out of the cinema.
Yeah, I think they were just clowning around.
Yeah, and they were like pacing around the cinema and whatnot. I'm surprised no one like fucking told them to shut the fuck up or something.
It's
like
awful.
Yeah, it was real bad.
Yeah.
Would you like these directors to stay within the horror genre? Because this is obviously the director debut, so and they have a hit here. Would you like them to see something similar to Jordan Peele, where they just stick with that, or do you want them to show a bit of range?
It really depends on what they're going to be comfortable with. I'm at a stage with them from a consumer point of view where you made a great first movie, and whatever you're comfortable with, I'm going to be supportive of that. I know they came from YouTube, so they may still be relatively new to the whole business model of Hollywood, getting the funding and distribution and all that kind of stuff. So small steps. If they want to do horror and just stay in that genre, then we need better horror movies in general. So I'm not going to be complaining about that. But if they want to branch out into all these other different things, then absolutely go for it. We just see the whole thing with Greta Gerwig recently. And that's what we need, just better directors telling their stories. And if these guys are good directors, then I'm all for it. Yeah.
Sounds
what
good.
about you?
Yeah, pretty much the same. I'd like them to stick with their comfort zone, and then when they have a bit of confidence, try to branch out, whether it be into an actual franchise or action comedy, something, maybe even thriller. It's very similar to horror, so it could be an easy transition for them, and then they can go from there.
Yeah.
What would anything else to talk about? Talk to me.
Talk to you?
Talk to me.
I let you in. No, nothing else to add for this one. I'm just I'm ready for the next couple of screenings we've got ahead of us.
We are. I think you and I are very excited for the beginning of the week.
Yep.
Easily.
I'm just excited for the next 9 days, I think.
It's going to be full on here at Movie Games.
Yeah, it is, yeah. But we're going to enjoy the weekend. We got All Blacks and Warriors to go to. Go Sharks, go South Africa.
What's your score?
I ignored that one. My score, I am going to go with a 7.9.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think at the moment, I think if it sits with me a little bit more, I think it can be a little bit higher. I need to think on it a bit, but yeah, about 7.9. By the end of the year, it may be a bit higher, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to go with a 8.2 out of 10.
And I know horror is really not our genre that we like. So yeah, we have a certain bias. Everyone has biases. We shouldn't be saying that we don't, because we do. And me and Nans we're not a big fan of horror.
Not at all.
But so a good score from us with horror means that we did really like it and appreciate it.
Exactly. Cool. That'll do us today on today's review for Talk to Me. If you enjoy it or you end up going to see the film and want to chat with us a bit more about it, head over to Twitter and flick us a message and we can have a good discussion whether you think it's a good horror film or whatnot. If you want to hear or read any of our other reviews that we do, head over to moviegains.com and we have a whole reviews tab. And don't click on that, because if you keep looking across, there's a whole lot of other great content, such as 4K, physical media content, box office, and Oscars. So we can easily keep you entertained for hours. Keeping you entertained for hours, head over to Spotify, wherever you pod from, and listen to our Let's Be Real podcast. That is an event in itself every Monday here in New Zealand. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in today. We'll catch you on the next one. See ya.
Peace.